Alright, this is a remake of a tutorial that I actually made earlier, and then I totally lost it. It got deleted somehow. So, I'm going to remake this tutorial, and hopefully I remember everything that I was going to do. So, first things first,
Hello.
by
This
the
is
way,
my
this
first.
this is my Blender channel, Blender Tutor. Anyway, um, there's actually a new version of Blender out that I totally missed. It came out a few days after I made my first tutorial. So you can download that the same way I told you how to in the first tutorial. It's not that hard. Second thing, if you're going to follow my tutorials, I would suggest you go to cgtextures.com and get the free account that gives you like a 15 megabyte download every day, every 24 hours, because I will be using that some. So actually for this first scene, we're gonna make your very first scene today. And it's going to look like something like this. You actually probably won't have like that glare and glow or even a vignette, but we'll be doing some of that type of stuff in our second scene, which I should have up when I get this scene up. So to start, you can open a new scene in Blender. I'm going to save this really quick because Blender has been crashing for me quite a bit recently. I don't know why. Blend. Okay. Um, First thing we're going to do is going to go back to cgtextures.com and we're going to go to wood, find wood, just download a good one. I think I used this one, so you can, actually apparently I'm not logged in here. I'm probably logged in on Google Chrome. Anyway, you can download that, and then you will, I think that's it for this scene. Yeah, you can also download a sky texture, but I'm just going to use built-in Blender Sky. So that's about it for that. Now to Blender itself. Let me close that. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this cube by pressing X. Now Shift A, add a mesh. It's going to be a plane. Press 0 on your numpad to get to your camera view. Just scale that plane out by pressing S. Set till it's just outside of the camera view. Yeah, like that. Alright, so you can see if you render that, kind of boring. Not much fun. So, now we're going to add a monkey. So you go add mesh, monkey. I think I introduced you in the first tutorial, but this is Suzanne. Say hello to Suzanne. Actually, we might move Suzanne up a little bit. There you go. Now, say hello to Suzanne. This is Suzanne. Set smooth Suzanne by pressing T and then clicking smooth shading. And you can see Suzanne already looks quite a bit better. Now, if you go to modifiers, which is this little wrench over here, click add modifier, you can add a subdivision surface. Subdivision surface modifier basically just divides the edges and faces and everything into divides them so that there's more of them and they're smoother. So I'm actually going to, for my final render, I think for my final render I actually used something like 4, but for the scene we only need like 2. So you can leave the view, that's how many there are in the viewport, down to 1 and the render to 2. Because the higher you raise your subsurf, the longer it's going to take to render. So just rotate this by going to right view by pressing 3 on your numpad and pressing R. just rotate it so that the two, this point and this point are flat against each other. Just something like that. And then you can move it down. Yes, like that. So you can see if you render that now, starting to look a little bit better. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add our textures and materials. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a material for the floor. You do that by going to this little circle thing and clicking new. Call that floor. Yeah, simple names are good. And now all of this should be good. You don't really need to change any of these. Now go to texture panel, that little checkered board, and click new. We're going to do an image or movie and open the wood texture that we downloaded. I think it's this one. Yep, this one. And you can see it instantly looks quite a bit better. So now we've got that down. Now we need to add texture and material for Suzanne. So go back to the material panel and add another new material. Call that monkey. Something like that. And we're going to go down to mirror and turn that up to 0.5. If you hold down control after you start dragging this, it'll go in increments. So, that's basically Suzanne. If you were to render this now, you'd see Suzanne has some nice... I might actually turn that mirror up to 0.6. You can see Suzanne's kind of reflecting everything. But it's still kind of a weird looking scene because normally Suzanne would be reflecting the sky if there was a sky. And this wouldn't all be dark. So, let's add a texture to the sky. This is your world. Right here is where you can pick the colors for everything. We're going to click blend sky and just make that zenith color a nice dark blue. And the horizon color we're going to make a lighter blue. Yeah, something like that. Now click texture. Make sure that it's checked on world. Click new. And if you turn this size up, that makes it so that these are just bigger to like maybe a 0.45. You can see it just gives it kind of a hazy cloud effect. Looks really nice. So if you give that a render, you can see, wow, it already looks quite a bit better. By the way, you render by pressing F12, just in case you don't remember. So now we want to add some lighting. You can do that by going to the object data for the light. Make sure you have the light selected. Now, right now it's a point. That just means it's kind of like if you had a lamp, it just kind of, a handheld lamp, it just kind of gives off a glow and just lights a whole area. Not exactly what we want. Now there's also the area lamp that kind of lights a certain area defined by that square just down. There's Hemi, which lights kind of a half circle type area that grows. There's Spotlight, which is like a real spotlight. You can see it's got a circle that it spots. And there's the sun lamp. The sun lamp is kind of everywhere. I mean, it doesn't really matter where you place the sun lamp. It's still going to be like there's just sun coming down from everywhere. So that's kind of the effect we want. We just want a whole over lit scene. So we're going to click here and you can change the color of the sun lamp. You could make it pink or purple or blue or green. But that's really weird, and we're going to make it pale yellow, like the real sun is very pale yellow. Yeah, something like that. Now, if you render that now, the whole scene just is lit. It's not quite what we want. So, if you rotate by pressing R, if you rotate that sky up so that it's just below horizontal, parallel with the ground, and then if you go to the top view and just rotate it so that's almost parallel with the y-axis, not quite that much, but something in the air. If you render that, now you've got some glare effect there. I might actually lower it just a little bit from the top. Yeah, like that. So there's just a faint glow from the sun. It might, yeah. Just so I might rotate that some more, just so the shadow doesn't look quite so weird. Yeah, something like that. So you can see the sun is coming from this area, and it's just casting a shadow. So now we've got that laying down, but we also kind of want a little bit of environment lighting. And we're going to do that by checking environment lighting. And we're just going to set this from white to sky texture. Now you can see instantly there's a whole lot of blue that has just shown up. We don't want it quite like that, because I mean you can see the sun is setting, but that's a little bit too much. So maybe turn this down to a 0.6 and render that. I might even set it to a little bit less, 0.4. Yeah, something like that. Just so there's kind of a darker tinge and just slightly blue. It looks cool. Seeing as mostly Suzanne's reflecting blue with a slight amount of sun. Now, I could go into compositing right now, but apparently, that's probably a little bit too much. We will be doing that in the second scene, though. So that's about it. So you've met Suzanne, and just done a little bit of lighting and materials and texturing.